Aloha and welcome to the fourth season of Live at the Legislature. Every week since 2018, we brought the state capitol into your homes with this live news program.
Our conversations are focused on the topics, legislation, and issues of importance during the session. Each week, state senators and representatives will provide a variety of perspectives on issues from both sides of the aisle. Due to the closure of the state capitol and the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, Live at the Legislature will look a little different this year. While we may not be coming to you live from the Senate and House chambers, we will continue to keep you engaged on what's going on in the Hawaii State Legislature.
In this 1-hour episode, we'll be taking a virtual tour of the Capitol and discussing the changes to our legislative process. You also have the opportunity to listen to our House and Senate leaders as they discuss the ongoing pandemic and other important issues. Stay tuned, it's an episode you won't want to miss.
Because of the pandemic, the state capitol remains closed to the general public, while legislators and staff continue to work in person. They are present at the Capitol, working to ensure that the needs of their constituents are being met. There are many new procedures that have been put in place to ensure the safety and well-being of all building personnel. Prior to entrance, all members and staff are required to go through a temperature screening process. Everyone must wear a mask and pass a screening to be granted building access. When entering elevators, individuals are expected to remain 6 feet apart and avoid crowding together. Throughout the building, there are hand sanitizing stations available for use. Door handles and elevator buttons are regularly sanitized to minimize the risk of any virus transmission. Once staff members enter the building, they proceed to their respective offices. All of our offices have been rearranged to be as socially distanced as space allows. This ensures that social distancing guidelines are met. All of our offices are open and fully functioning.
Due to the pandemic, most of the 2021 session will be conducted remotely, with authorized members and staff meeting in person at the Capitol. The Senate will convene its daily floor session at 11:30 a.m. These sessions will be broadcast live on Olelo Community Media and live streamed via the Senate YouTube channel at youtube.com/Hawaii Senate. On the floor of the Senate, members will be separated by plexiglass barriers and must wear masks when not speaking. Senators will also have the option to attend in person or virtually via Zoom. There are air purifiers placed throughout the building as well as electrostatic sprayers as seen here. The Senate will also use Zoom to conduct hearings and live stream on our YouTube channel. Live streams will be immediately available on YouTube once the proceedings have ended. Committee chairs will have the option to conduct hearings 100% remotely or offer their members a hybrid setup, with some senators participating from Senate conference rooms and some joining the hearings remotely. Due to restricted access to the Capitol, members of the public will have the opportunity to electronically submit written testimony on our Capitol portal and provide live verbal testimony via Zoom. This allows for more participation by those who previously were not able to submit testimony in person. We encourage members of the public to initiate this process by visiting www.capitol.hawaii.gov and creating an account.
On the floor of the House, representatives will also be separated by plexiglass barriers and will wear masks when not speaking. Social distancing measures have also been implemented to ensure that members comply with government regulations. Daily House floor sessions will begin at 12 p.m., with the public able to watch these floor sessions via television on Olelo Community Media and via the internet on our YouTube channel, Hawaii House of Representatives, and on Facebook at www.facebook.com/HiHouseDems. Hawaii House members will attend committee hearings in person. State officials and members of the public will testify using Zoom. All House hearings will be live streamed on the House YouTube channel. Public access to the legislature remains important to both the House and Senate. One of the Capitol's most utilized resources, the Public Access Room, is still here to help during COVID. The Public Access Room provides the public with information, facilities, and services to assist their engagement and participation in the state legislative process. The Public Access Room is still available to the public to answer any calls and emails. Be sure to contact the Public Access Room if you have any questions for them by calling 808-587-0478 or by visiting their website at lrb.hawaii.gov/PAR.
What are you doing? We have to go. I'm gonna be late for work.
It's Tuesday morning. I gotta record live at the legislature on Alelo. Senate and House leadership discussing what's happening at the state capitol.
So just watch it on the news tonight. Come on, let's go.
Hey, this is like getting the news before it's news. If only I could get this remote to work.
There. Can we go now?
No DVR? No problem. Watch Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. on Channel 49.
Aloha, and welcome to the second part of our Live at the Legislature. Today we're having a roundtable discussion on the pandemic and disaster preparedness. With us today is Representative Linda Ichiyama, who represents District 32, Moanalua Valley, Salt Lake, and Aliamanu. And we also have Senator Jarrett Keohokalole, representing District 24, Kaneohe, Kailua, Heia, and Ahuimanu, and Representative Gene Ward from District 17, Hawaii Kai and Kalama Valley. For our first topic on this roundtable discussion, we're going to be talking about the pandemic, of course. And our first question goes to Representative Ichiyama. Is enough being done to protect and support the people of Hawaii? You know, infections are going up. How are we doing and what should we be doing?
Thank you, James. Thank you very much for having me on the show this morning. I think the answer is there's always more that can be done. And I think your question also leads us to, who should or who can do more, right? And I really think that one of the things that we've learned about this pandemic is that we need to respond as a community. It's all within our hands to stop the spread of coronavirus. And one good example is the Aloha Safe Alert app, which was just recently launched by the Department of Health. It's the state's official exposure notification app. But unless people download it on their phone and turn on notifications, right, and make sure that they use that app, it's an individual's actions that are really going to make the difference here. So I encourage everybody to download and use the app and help keep their family safe.
People help themselves by doing that. Rep Ward, what are your thoughts on if we're doing enough to protect and support the people of Hawaii?
Thank you, John, and Happy New Year, everybody. I think we're doing a good job. We could do better. So it's kind of a yes and no. Yes, we live the longest in Hawaii. We have the least amount of deaths. We're doing good for the mainland. But what I'm concerned about is that we're forgetting one of the things that goes hand in hand with the life of people. It's their livelihood. We have an economy that doesn't fit the size and the needs of our population. It's like a family of 8. And the father has a job enough to get 3 people fed and 5 are kind of on a rationing diet. And why I say that, I don't say it critically because I say we have a economic opportunity staring us in the face related to the pandemic, and that is Oceanit has a spit in a cup, $20, 10 minutes, they can get the results. He's put this before so many people in Hawaii. We've looked at the creation of a pharmaceutical industry in the mouth and have not done anything. So we can do better. Of course we can do better. But we've got to throw this pandemic on the ash heap of history.
Thank you. We will get more in-depth on vaccinations. Senator Keohokalole, do you have any thoughts on how the pandemic numbers, we're going up in Hawaii, even though we are doing well? What do you think? What more could we be doing?
I think a lot of the issues around our response to the pandemic at this point come down to communication. We're at the point where most of the general public understands what's going on. They follow the numbers. They realize things are going up. The thing that really has been lacking and that we just need to do better collectively is getting out and communicating to the public and letting them know what's going on at any given moment, what our priorities are for responding in any given moment on the government side, and what we really need everybody to go out and do. Similar to what Representative Ichiyama said, you know, the fact that we are surging right now means that we need folks again to be very mindful and try to avoid gatherings. We need folks to be careful in groups. We need folks to download the Aloha Safe app. And it's not just about communicating what's happening in the moment, but it's being able to articulate with urgency what's happening and what we need to do and how we're responding, so that people feel comfort that and confidence that the government is responding appropriately and that they need to do their part as well. You know, at different points in this response, it seemed like the federal government or the state government or the counties are not organized, and that doesn't give people confidence that the response is going to be done right, and so it leaves mass confusion, and then it's just not as likely that you get the community to come along.
John, can I have another bite at the apple if we have any time?
Yeah. Go ahead, Rip.
What we're missing is the feedback on the contact tracing to the public. We don't have the data of men, women. We have age, but we don't have any of the locations. We don't have whether it's indoor or outdoors. Some of the places, like in New York, they're saying, hey, 72% are in houses in small community groups. Why are you closing our restaurants? Why are you not allowing the economy to go back in? So I think we need better science. I think that's one of the things that if we do have the data, they've kept it in the Department of Health and they haven't shared it with people so they can be wise about, hey, this kind of an activity is the worst kind you can do. These are the people who get it the most. These are the ones we don't even know if it's more men or more women. The point is usable data. People are tired of hearing, hey, we got so many cases today. We got so many that people are blind to the meaning of any of that because we've never used the data in a way that makes action doable on the part of our public.
Okay, then. No. Where we are right now and where we're going, is it moving fast enough, or we just got to kick it into gear and get people vaccinated, get shots in the arms?
So vaccinations are another really good example of where we need to do better and more urgent and more active communication. I think on the state side, our response so far has been okay. You know, we have points of distribution set up at our community health centers out in rural areas, at our hospitals for their emergency personnel, you know, the emergency workers, the emergency room workers, doctors, ICU staff, they've already gone. This next group of people who we are trying to get vaccinated, the kupuna 75 and older, and our frontline workers are waiting. And we just need to do a better job of explaining to folks that, number one, the supply that comes in on a week-to-week basis is at a maximum 4,000 doses a day. And while we wait for the federal government to improve their distribution of vaccines so that we can really scale up the number of people to get it, we need to go out and explain to folks, look, this is where you go in your community. These are the places you need to reach out to if you have questions. And you just got to hold on. It's going to take us a while to scale up the number of folks that we can get vaccinated on any given day. That's been a little bit lacking. I don't think it's a problem that's, you know, it's not a disastrous type of problem. It's something that you can solve really immediately by just starting to communicate. And again, I think it's more about making sure you set the tone and that you provide leadership in the community where it's desperately needed. I know many of my colleagues have reached out for guidance because they have seniors in their communities who are looking for answers. And so once we start to provide that coordination and then tell people the truth, we're just not at the point where we can scale up yet because we're not getting the doses in at the rate we really want. And everybody just needs to hold tight and get ready. You know, it's that type of communication that I think is really going to help us get to where we need to be on vaccinations, you know, until we actually start getting the supply that we really need to make things happen.
Good. Rep. Ichiyama, what's your view on this vaccination situation right now? You need to unmute.
Sorry about that.
That's quite all right.
I was just saying that I absolutely agree with Senator Keohakalole's comments. I think there needs to be better communication up and down the board. I also think that I echo his request for people to be patient. I understand that there are a limited number of doses available and that everybody's very anxious. And in a way, I'm grateful that we have more demand because that was something that we were worried about at the beginning, whether or not there would be demand. And I think that the response and the interest in the vaccine is there, which is a very good sign. And so just asking everybody to be patient as we try to get as many doses as we can as the feds start to ramp up their production as well.
As well, but I'll wait my turn. Rep. Ward, what are your thoughts on vaccinations and how we're doing?
First, agreeing with my colleagues, it's certainly a supply and demand issue. The supply chains need to go better, faster, quicker, maybe a warp speed for the supply chain. Manufacturing may be a part of that problem, but you got FedEx, UPS, and the post office to deliver this stuff, not the post office, but other delivery methods would hopefully be implemented to make this thing real. The other thing that's missing is, vaccinations alone are not going to do it. We're going to have to double test to make sure that there are places for hotel workers, for teachers that know students aren't going to give it to them, giving students to the teachers. We need to do, again, I'm going to put Oceanit in that $20 10-minute test. We got to test to make sure that we push and isolate all of these infected people so we can control them. Vaccinations alone are not going to do it. And lastly, I would say we're doing the right thing by logistically and protocol opening up Baysdale. I think it's today that we're going to have a massive inoculation. And for the sake of my colleagues and others, I did a pre-session survey about who should be vaccinated first, second, third, and guess who's last? Politicians, elected officials. And you can choose whether you want it or not. But I wouldn't suggest anybody of us on this call that would have get your shirt and get your video camera out to show how you're taking it ahead of any kapuna.
Yes. Well, let me continue with you, Rep. Ward. The economy and federal support, it's an important part for us, of course, but what do we have and what do we need now to keep going with this end of the pandemic?
Well, I did outline what we need economically, and that is a pharmaceutical industry to be spurred on by the state of Hawaii, which we're sitting on our hands. And with a pre-order, we could actually have our first pharmaceutical, not only just for COVID, but Oceanit, Patrick Sullivan, they're geniuses and all kinds of things that we could have. And we need high-paying jobs. He's got 100 PhDs that pay very, very well. Now, CARES gave us a safe haven. CARES gave us good federal money, so the economy and the federal support is there. But I think some of the things that you went for, we don't know yet. Senator Takuda hopefully is going to give us some good breakdown of where the money went. But, some of the people are saying, hey, you bought these ATVs for the police department. Do we need these guys to be running around the beach for that money? Also, my constituents are still calling and saying, hey, I haven't got my PUA. I haven't got my unemployment yet. We have done very inefficiently the distribution of those people who are hurting and need us the most. But I think the most important thing is and this is going to kind of, how would you say, make us look good. But I want people to know, and it's very unnoticed and not mentioned, that Representative McDermott and myself through the White House were the first in the nation to get pre-travel testing approved. We went through the FDA and the DOT and got it approved. Of course, we sat on it, but then Alaska picked it up. And now everybody in the world is doing pre-testing before people arrive on their shores or in their visitor destinations. That should be something that should be acknowledged for what Hawaii led the nation in.
People are hurting out there. What do we need? What economic support is most important right now?
I would echo Rep. Ward's sentiments about UI and PUA. I receive the same calls and requests from help from my constituents who unfortunately have been in this sort of processing limbo where their claims haven't been updated for weeks. So I would hope that with any additional stimulus money that we receive, improving our overall UI system and PUA system would be one of the priorities. I think we also need to make sure that we have a safety net, right? With so many people unemployed who are relying on WIC or TANF, general assistance. We need to make sure that that safety net is there. I think that our housing chair in the House, Representative Nakamura, has also been working very closely with the group on what happens after the eviction moratorium ends, right? We don't want a flood of eviction cases in our courts and end up with an even greater homeless population. So those would be my two priorities.
Senator, there's a lot of hope with the new president coming in that more funds will be coming. Where do you see our economic needs and where should it go?
So, one of the things that would really help us, in my opinion, with the new administration is to have the federal government come in and shore up our UI trust fund deficit, because then we won't have to have this whole debate about the small businesses having to pay this vastly increased premium to cover the unemployment trust fund. And then to go back to what Representative Ichiyama said, it's been a struggle. A lot of that is a lot of the struggle with the unemployment system is the state's responsibility and fault and kuleana. But there are a myriad of requirements and regulations and procedures that the federal government places on the state when it comes to getting that unemployment money, whether it's PUA or extended benefits or regular unemployment out. And that's the same problem that we had with the CARES Act funds. I don't want to place blame on any individual agency or department in general, but when you had this hard deadline to spend down the money or you lose it, instead of them just giving us some time to extend out the utilization of the money so that we could put in place good programs, you get some of these results. And then the last part of it is we need support to get this vaccination plan improved. Part of that needs to come through, as Representative Ward said, the supply chain issues coming into the state. But we need help to power this thing up once we start to go to scale. Once we go from 4,000 doses a day incoming to 10 or 20,000, that is a huge logistical undertaking. And we just cannot have seniors camping overnight, waiting in these long lines like they have in Florida. We just can't have it. And so that type of support is really critical, and we need it now.
John, can I kibitz one thing the senator said?
Go ahead.
I agree with everything that he said except for one thing, and that is if they can't return a phone call or send an email just acknowledging and saying, hey, look, we're looking at it. My guys have had 2 or 3 months, just stiff arm. I mean, okay, I agree. We got to have the money. We got to have the feds and the regulations. But the way that the way all of our constituents were treated, they were non-entities. They could not get phone calls. Some guys would be on the correct dial and automatic dial for hours, and they couldn't even get a phone call. They couldn't get an email. That to me is excusable. If we're going to help the people of Hawaii, we got to be more responsive. And that probably reflects what in a survey that was taken, I think, recently by the advertiser. We have 25% approval rating. We can do a better job is the bottom line.
Thank you. Ichiyama, you are the chair of the new House Pandemic and Disaster Preparedness Committee. What are you hoping this session? What are you hoping to accomplish, or what is going to help legislatively this session?
Well, I think our challenge this session is that we're going to be doing everything virtually, right? So as many in the public may have heard, the Capitol remains closed, and we are going to be holding virtual hearings where people will testify via Zoom. And I think our challenge as an institution is going to be adapting to that new format. I mean, I am just hoping and praying that nothing crashes in the middle of a hearing and we have to do it all over again. But that's going to be a big learning curve for all of us.
Report, I think you sit on that committee too. What are you hoping to get accomplished this session?
Sorry, I didn't hear what you garbled a bit, John.
I'm sorry. You're also on the new House committee.
Oh, okay, well, that was me. Okay, good. We've got 4 things to do. We've got a mandate, and I say that these are, before we leave in the first week of May, we better accomplish 4 things. One is we've got to get this pandemic resolved. We got to push it on the ash heap of history. Secondly, we've got to be able to open the economy. We got to get the economy going. 50% of all of our money comes from the GT tax, 25% from withholding. If we're stagnant in the water the way we were in the last 6 months, We're going to die on the vine, and we can't keep borrowing and borrowing. The third imperative is we're going to help small businesses survive. They're out there looking for a way of getting some kind of a break on either regulations or in terms of taxation. We've got to be able to think and help them survive. 20% of the restaurants have already died. And lastly, and most importantly, and this is a shout out for Representative Luke, we got to be able to balance the budget. Income has got to equal expenses, and it's so far away, like $2 billion, she said on PITV last, or was it THON? $2 billion in a couple of years. It's probably $6 billion in 4 years, given the Council of Revenues. We have run out of money. We got to start living off of our brains rather than our looks in Hawaii, but we got to open tourism.
Thank you, Report. Senator, the last 30 seconds to you. What do you hope to accomplish this session in relation to the pandemic?
I think the beginning, middle, and end of it is the last segment of Representative Ward's comment. You know, we have a significant budget deficit we need to address. And what does that mean in real terms? That means services for homeless, services for incarcerated individuals who are coming in and out of the system, for renters who are back on their payments, and for teachers who are at risk of furlough or layoff. You know, those are serious implications to our system. We need to get those shored up as best we can. It's going to be difficult. We cannot sugarcoat the difficulty of the task we're about to undertake. We need to make it all work. We have limited time to do it. We're not going to get it perfect, but that's where the urgency and the focus and the priority needs to be.
Well, we're out of time, and I want to thank you all for joining us. It's a great discussion. Aloha and thank you. We'll see you next week with Live at the Legislature.
Aloha.
Five, four, three.
Aloha. As you can see, we're broadcasting today's program from my home in respect for the Shelter-in-Place Directive so that you can meet the people who continue to make a difference in our everyday lives.
And the winner is.
And the winner is.
And the winner is.
Your government needs you. The Hawaii State Legislature is encouraging citizens to get informed and involved. With thousands of bills introduced every year, it can be hard to keep up on the issues that matter most to you. Located on the 4th floor of the state capitol, the public access room is filled with knowledgeable and friendly staff to help you. This is your Hawaii, your state capitol. Get informed, get involved, and get the government you want.
Aloha, I'm Tom Coons. I'm with the communications team at the Hawaii State Legislature. Well, I think it's fair to say that things have never seemed to move faster in these truly unprecedented times. So we thought we'd put some of our best state legislators to the test in a new segment we call the 2-minute drill. So I'm here today with State House Majority Leader, Representative Della Belatti, and State Senate Leader, Senator J. Kalani English, and State House Representative Gene Ward. So here's how it will work. I will read the question, call on one of you to get the ball rolling. Then you'll have 2 minutes as a group. Now, I don't want to point anybody out in this group, but there's no filibusters, all right? So try to share the time. We want lively conversation. So here is question number 1. What song title would best describe this upcoming session? Representative Belatti.
I am a child of the 90s and the 2000s, so my song title would be Survivor by Destiny's Child, but I'm going to do a second one. Also from a colleague of mine, Money, Pink Floyd's Money.
That's a good one. How about you, Representative Ward?
I like hers, but I think mine match it. It's All About the Benjamins by Puff Daddy. And also A Second Bite at the Apple, The Gambler by Kenny Rogers. You got to know when to hold them and when to fold them. We got to know when to tax and when not to tax the people. We got to know when to pass bills to give them a break, etc. So Kenny Rogers and Puff Daddy.
Puff Daddy, Representative Ward. Okay, I didn't expect that. J.A. Kalani, English. How about you, sir?
Well, two come to mind. The first one is Who Let the Dogs Out? And the second one is Talking Heads Burning Down the House.
Oh my gosh. Why did you choose those?
Senator, who are the dogs? Wait, who are the dogs he's referring to?
Yeah, you go figure that out, Ward.
Oh, okay.
I got to say, I really believe that Representative Ward listens to Puff Daddy. Somehow that doesn't fit.
Hey, look, we are research and staff-driven offices. Even though you don't see me as a diverse individual, you have stereotyped me, Ms. Belatti.
You could ask him to hum a few tunes of that, a few bars of that.
We can do that.
Puff Daddy looks like. What ethnicity is Puff? Oh, let's next. I think that's what we're supposed to do. Next.
Okay, next question. All right. Let's grade it. Let's grade Governor Ige's response to COVID. Representative Ward, you get to go first on this one.
This is a tough one, being that we just answered in the second segment. Look, we're on our way. We're doing better than others. I would give them a C for effort, but let me say this very, very clearly. We should have had a protocol with Josh Green as the head of this. We shouldn't have gone up and down and around. We had kind of a really bad organizational protocol in terms of political rivalry between.
Jump in right here. Come on, Rep. Ward. I would.
Okay, there shouldn't be a Caldwell and a Green fighting over this issue. So you got a C for effort.
Hey guys, I give him very high grades. You know what? When I had Zoom meetings with Molokai and Lanai and Hana, the governor came on those meetings, answered questions directly from the people, followed up with that. So, I give him high grades. I mean, none of us have had to deal with this before, and it was all pandemonium. So how do you manage chaos? And I give the governor high grades because, you know what? We kept the numbers low for a long time. We were the first in the nation to do a whole bunch of things that others have followed. And, to talk to the people on Molokai, Lanai, and Hana directly, take their hard questions. And sometimes he said, wow, I don't know how, we didn't think about that. So high grades for the governor.
I'm going to go with the gentleman C, and I'm actually very comfortable with that as a former teacher, and I don't think it's anything to be ashamed of, exactly because of what Senator English said, which is no one's ever dealt with this. But I would also say, and I want to challenge Rep. Ward a little bit, the problem is some of the communications within the governor's team is that it's internal. So you know what? I disagree. I don't know that Lieutenant Governor Green should have been put in charge of all the protocols. We see that some of the miscommunication is coming because everyone's talking. There needs to be
communication. It's leadership, my dear. It's leadership.
Should be doing it.
Leadership is the issue.
I think the people of Hawaii deserve an A, because A, for trying to listen and comply and do what they need to do, and we do have the best numbers in the state.
And you know what? I got to put in a word for the mayors, because the governor had to deal with 4 different counties, 4 different sets of circumstances, and in Maui County, I had to deal with 3 different inhabited islands. So it's complicated. So
Thank you for saying that, Kalani, because Frank Fozzie is the kind of leadership that we need to do something like that.
That was last century.
I think we're going right.
The point is, it's a leadership issue. It's not a communication. It's a leadership issue. It's a leadership issue. He gets a C for his attempt.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let's go to the next. Okay, Senator English, you are up. Let it roll. Should gambling be legalized in Hawaii?
Well, I wouldn't bet on it. Hawaii has had a legalized gambling bill from the Legislative Assembly in the Kingdom of Hawaii. The first ones were introduced in the 1880s. Up every session since then. So it went through the Kingdom, the Provisional Government, the Territory, the Republic of Hawaii, the Territory, and the state. 5 governments, every legislative session, and it has never passed. So I wouldn't bet on it. I think that, it's worth the debate now. We have to be very careful of the American Indians Gaming Act and how that impacts us here. But I'm open to the discussion. I've always voted no on these, but I wouldn't bet on it passing.
Hey, this is going to be a first. I'm going to defer to the Senate on this. I like that response.
Hey, guys, let's follow.
There's going to be a discussion, but we've seen the thousands already come out in opposition to the proposal by DHHL, so I wouldn't bet on it either.
And, I have to say, DHHL did a good job of laying out what they want. And they addressed the big boogeyman in the room, which is the Native Americans Gaming Act, the federal law. So, they're trying to dispel some of the myths, but I don't know if I actually believe that research. So, kudos to them for putting together a good package.
It's not a myth, it's the science that those who can gamble, who can afford to gamble, do not gamble. Those who cannot afford to gamble are the ones who gamble. This is pushing on the people who don't have enough money to survive in the state of Hawaii. And to do that, the only thing I like about the DHHL program is it draws attention to our inadequacy to fund at the federal and the state level, when otherwise was 100 years ago, we promised the Hawaiians with 203,000 acres of land. We've got now 28,000 on the wait list, and we build like 100 to 200 houses a year. We got like 9,700, 9,800.
So, like I said, I don't think
it's embarrassing. So gambling gives it attention, but it's embarrassing the way we treated the Native Hawaiians.
Thank you.
Next, all right. Back to school. So a lot of mom and dads want to know this, Rep. Belatti. Should Hawaii students return to the classroom?
Yes, when we have the safety protocols in place, and yes, definitely when we have a large part of our population vaccinated. I will probably cry tears of joy when we start putting vaccination in the arms of children, because they're the ones who are asymptomatic. They can be spreaders, and I think once we get vaccinations more widespread, yes. I will also just put out there, though, that children have been going back to school from day one. So we have had teachers who have done a tremendous effort for those folks, those children who were back in school. And so we know that it's possible, and that we know that it can be done. But to get the mass amount of students back to school, the 180,000 students, is going to be a little bit more challenging. So we have to watch, wait, and see, and continue to work with all parties so that we have a safe environment.
Well said. We have to follow the science, however. The science says that it's one of the safest places for kids to be. The infection rate is most in the home. That's the difficulty. But the infection rate among kids is nominal. But the whole point of getting back to school is to get them out of drugs, get them out of depression, get them out of suicide. There's a downside that is extremely being experienced. But here's the other issue. It's not just the vaccinations that Della mentions. It's we got to do testing. We got to get this again. It's the ocean.
There you go again, Ward.
Hey,
so
look at the science.
Students going back to school is important, but we have to be very aware of the fact that, until we have vaccines out there, I'll give you a good example. In Hana, they went back to school for a few days. There was a false positive for one of the kids. They shut down the school. They followed the DOH metrics. They did everything that needed to be done, but it was a false positive. So you see, there's still a lot of dangers, and we have to protect the kids, the students, the parents. And these are the things that show it to us. So I think the DOH metrics are good. And until we can get everybody vaccinated, let's err on the side of safety.
But it's not vaccinations alone. You got to do testing. Chicago is at 72% of its students back because they are doing spitting on the testing like ocean. No, you guys are missing the science. You're missing the science. Next.
Okay. Rep. Ward, I guess you'll get a chance to start. So you get all your words in here. How did Hawaii do with mail-in voting?
I think we did an excellent job. If I could just cite what we do right in Hawaii, it's mail-in voting because we had the absentee ballot. I mean, for my district, 50 to 60% over the last probably 2 to 3 elections. And when someone jumps into it over a couple of weeks and they've got to do stuff, they don't really know what's going on. So we have actually a lesson to teach the mainland and some of these people who didn't have any signatures on their ballot, some people who didn't even actually have people who had signed up for a ballot. Let me summarize it this way. Mail-in ballot is the easiest thing to do poorly. We did it well, and we should give ourselves credit, and we should be a teacher for the mainland.
Yeah, I think we did really well. I mean, and the numbers went very high. We had a lot of participation. A lot of people voted for the first time, which is a good indicator. Some of the downsides, I live in Hana, and the only in-person voting system was a 2-hour drive in Wailuku to get to the other side. So we can improve, but man, this system is here, it's here to stay, and I think people are going to use it, and that's reinvigorated our democracy.
We had challenges on Oahu with the Kapolei lines, and so we're going to have to take a look at that and fix that. I think all mail-in voting demonstrated that Hawaii is a leader here on elections. But again, like a senator said, there's always ways to improve, especially across the state.
I don't think it was a shortage of things. It was a shortage of leadership to know that, hey, my goodness, these many people are going to be calling. They should have known that they need more than 2 places for 800,000 people. We have an island of 800,000 people. We get 2 places
Those
to go
community
vote.
leaders failed their people because they told them,
There you go.
do not go in, walk in on the last day to vote. Don't trust the mailing system. So Ward, you're right. Community leaders failed their people in a lot of ways. Those that told them, do not vote mail in, walk in. That's where those lines came in. A lot of the churches did that, a lot of right-wing organizations, to be quite frank. So, hopefully next time they'll say, look, go ahead and do your mail-in voting. We won't have those long lines.
This is not the first time we've done it. We ran out of ballots so many times. You think that some of this stuff is not rocket science? Well, opening different places.
I don't see what running out of ballots has to do with the mail-in system.
It's called planning and leadership. It's called management.
Because they were mailed their ballots. You understand that, right?
It's a leadership issue.
Oh, yes, we failed. Your leaders failed.
I gotta agree. The other thing that I was really concerned about, and we're giving Tom a heartache, but you know what? Some of the protesting that was happening around the Kapolei Center probably was inappropriate because I think, there are some issues of being too close to the voting polls, a little bit of intimidation. So I think we have our work cut out for us in lots of ways. But next, Tom, next, let's keep going.
Okay.
Agreed.
Up in smoke, should marijuana be legalized in Hawaii?
Yes, it should. And I've been introducing the bills for probably 20 years or 15 years or so. But here's the reason. Like the end of Prohibition, when alcohol, the last century, was illegal, I'm saying legalize it, very tight controls on it, just like alcohol. And I don't think it'll be the big revenue stream that people think it will be, but it'll be part of that. So legalize with tight controls and tight regulation and taxation. It's not a free-for-all. We don't say alcohol is free and you can go out and drink anytime you want, go to work drunk, etc. Jacob, do you mind moving around so the light will come on? I have an automatic energy saving here. The light goes on without moving.
So I'll jump in here. I believe personally, it's coming. Full recreational is coming at some point, but we already have some degree of legalization of cannabis. We have medical cannabis, and so we need to protect our medical patients because they have long used cannabis for medical reasons. And then we did pass a decriminalization bill last session, and so I think we have to do this carefully with everything else going on. Will we have the capacity and the bandwidth? This is going to be something that's going to require a lot of attention by our AGs who are tied up in doing all kinds of things right now. So is it coming? Yes, but can we do it? Not sure we have the bandwidth.
A bad idea, and it's already legal. Legal in the sense that when we had the legalization of marijuana, the police said, hey, if you got 3 grams and we see you, we're not going to do anything to you. This has been going on all over the place, just like gambling. You got 7 gambling houses in Waianae already. So these things that we say we want to legalize, it's a quick fix to get money, to say that we haven't got an economy that works. We're going to give money and we're going to give legalization. And look, here's my biggest worry. Some of you guys, Senator, listen, this is to you. Senator, you got to listen to this. You guys in the Senate are going to start decriminalizing felonies of meth, heroin, and every hard drug that exists. That is bad policy. Get away from heroin, get away from meth. But you guys are stepping into a really big piece of doo-doo.
No, you're citing discredited 1980s reports. That was so last century.
I'm saying you guys are going to make heroin and other things just the same way it made marijuana, and you're going to screw the minds up of our youth, and you're going to waste the youth of Hawaii.
Thank you for supporting the legalization of marijuana. We appreciate it, Ward.
Okay, this will be a much less controversial topic right here, so this will be easier. In a word, Rep. Belatti, we'll start with you. Good luck with this one. In a word, describe the last 4 years of this presidency with Donald Trump.
Exhausting. Just exhausting.
Why so?
I think the chaos that's been created by his way of governing and what we saw on January 6th, it was just, that was just it for me. I think we are looking at fresh new leadership. I think we're looking at having national strategies rolled out on vaccination, testing, contact tracing. I'm looking forward to having a more calm, thoughtful presidency administration on board. I know we have to reach out to the millions of voters who did vote for Trump, but I think some of them will have to agree with me that it has just been exhausting the last 4 years. So there's a lot of work that we need to do. I'd rather now shift away from the Trump presidency and ask ourselves, what is the Biden-Harris administration going to be doing? And how can the states now engage with an administration that seems more ready to roll out real, thoughtful national strategies? And I'm going to punt to Senator English first. Go ahead, Senator English.
Sure, my one word, awe. Hawaii is just, my grandparents would always, if you do something really bad, awe. So awe to this president. Mahalo, aloha, and aloha also. Po'ini and the old Hawaiians, aloha has a lot of meanings. Hello, goodbye, but it also has another meaning, depending how you say it. Aloha. It's like, too bad, what a waste. So aloha, awe. That's to this president.
Okay, Representative.
Okay, my
Ward.
turn.
It is your turn.
Okay, I would expect is what I just heard out of a blue state, a bluer than blue state. We're probably the bluest state of the nation. So well done, you two. It's as what was expected. We've broken the rules by time it says in a word describe the last 4 years. That's been difficult because I would say it's the blue collar billionaire goes to Washington, or it's a
That's
what
not
would
one
you say?
word, Ward.
Blue collar, he has the
mega innator.
I'm more blue collar. Let me tell you, the people of Hawaii know what blue collar is, and that past president, soon to be past president, is not blue collar.
I think you forgot what his voting base was. It's mostly the blue collar that you Democrats initially had, and you're leaving because you now are the limousine liberals. The most money, the most corporations are backing Democrats. Let's
So
come
what's
on,
your
get
word?
real.
What's your word?
Yeah, what's your
Look
word?
at the data.
Word.
Look at the data.
Look at the data. Okay, next.
That's two words. Three.
Next, let's wrap this baby up.
All right, we're up to Rep. Ward. You get this last question. You get to kick this off. This is hopefully the easy one. Maybe it's a difficult one. What's your favorite place to eat within walking distance of the Capitol?
I want you to know this is not for Rep. Belatti's edification, but it should, because my favorite food is adobo, and I go to Vicky's Filipino fast food. And every time I'm at the Capitol, I eat that. And I think the pork adobo is probably the best west of the Mississippi, right there at Vicky's Filipino fast food.
Wow.
I'll go try it.
Okay. Write
I'll
that
take it.
down.
The
How
next
about you,
one.
Rep. Belatti?
I'm going to do two. Lucky
Yep.
Belly at 50 North Hotel Street and Livestock Tavern right next door at 49 North Hotel Street. We got some really great small businesses here in downtown Chinatown, and the fact that they've remained open has been very good for the people here at the Capitol. The over 500 folks who work here, we're lucky to have these great small businesses. Senator
You eat
England?
lunch at a tavern?
Yeah,
You eat
so
lunch at a tavern?
I would say Kaimana Kitchen, which is Indian food. And you know why I like them? It's because, hey, it's reasonable, it's very good. And, they have a branch on Maui. So I used to go to their Maui one. And when I saw them here, I went in. It's the same family, so you go in, they know you. The food is excellent. And, when you call in for takeout, it's there and ready when you get there. That's really important these days.
Nice.
And I got to give a shout out to my second office. My second office is the Mandalay restaurant, the Chinese restaurant. Some of the best food in the world, other than the French, is Chinese in Mandalay, right on Alakea, which is just a jump over from our capital. They have great food. They have Linda, who works her heart out. But I'll tell you, COVID really shut them down. And I hope she's not one of those 20% who died because of what the government has done in taking control of the economy.
Excellent. And Rep. Ward, what's your favorite dish there? Why don't you tell everybody?
You want me to say adobo again? Because it's the best thing. Oh, sorry. The favorite dish is the dim sum. Oh, I was shifting back to my favorite lunch wagon. Their dim sum is super, and their oyster sauce chicken with soft noodles. If anybody doesn't know that one, ordered. It's off the menu. It's something I picked up in Kuala Lumpur while in Malaysia. Oyster sauce chicken with soft noodle is excellent. You can't get it any better than any place in Honolulu.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I think that just about wraps it up. Thank you very much for your time. I want to thank each of you for coming on today. And one thing for sure, it's going to be a session to remember. I think we can all say that. So thank you very much to all of you for helping out today.
Thank you, Della. Thank you, Kalani. Aloha.
All right. Take care.
Thank you for joining us for the first episode of the 4th season of Live at the Legislature. We hope you enjoyed these new segments. We certainly did. Let us know what you think and what you're looking forward to in the 2021 legislative session by posting your comments below.
And please join us next week, Tuesday, January 26th at 8:30 in the morning, right here at Live at the Legislature with Olelo Community Media. Until then, remember to wear your mask, avoid large social gatherings, and practice social distancing. Aloha.